right, everybody, welcome back to AI for the People.
It's great to be back.
So today we are taking a deep dive into AI frontiers.
Some really cool cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah, it's moving so fast right now that it's almost hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to break it down.
And this is, we're calling this AI for the People for a reason.
Right.
Because it is moving so fast that it's really important that everybody kind of understands what's happening.
Yeah.
And, so we can all be a part of shaping this future.
Oh, absolutely.
It's coming, whether we like it or not, so we might as well get on board.
Be informed and involved.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I saw that I thought was super cool, AI is now predicting weather patterns with, incredible accuracy.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like saving lives and stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible the applications that are coming out every day.
Yeah.
So I think a good place to start would be maybe talking about Nvidia.
Yeah. And their new Jetson Thor.
Jetson Thor.
Which is, you know them for graphics cards and chips.
Right, right.
But this is a compact AI computer that is designed specifically to be the brains of a humanoid robot.
Whoa.
Which is pretty crazy.
Like a little tiny computer?
Yeah, it's a little tiny computer that is basically as powerful as, a supercomputer from 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty incredible the miniaturization of technology that we've seen.
Yeah, and so what kind of
Well, think about it this way. The applications are pretty limitless.
Right.
You could have a robot that can do search and rescue.
Right.
You could have a robot that can assist in, dangerous jobs like firefighting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about them even being used in healthcare settings.
Oh, wow.
Like robot surgeons, things like that. It's pretty incredible.
That's pretty amazing because even right now there's robotic surgery.
Right.
But it's still being controlled by a human.
Yeah.
Remotely.
Exactly. And so this would take that to the next level where the robot is actually making some of the decisions.
Wow.
Obviously with oversight, but still, it's a pretty big leap.
Yeah. Because even just remotely, you can be on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And do a surgery like that.
Exactly.
Amazing as it is.
Absolutely.
But now we're talking about robots actually making decisions. That's
and I think the key here is that Nvidia is not trying to build the robots themselves. They're focusing on providing this incredibly powerful AI technology to the companies that are actually building the robots.
Interesting.
So they're kind of like the brains behind the operation, which is a really smart move on their part.
It is. And all this stuff, it's moving so fast. And I was reading that they're saying the humanoid robot market is expected to reach $243.4 billion.
Wow.
By 2035.
That's in just over 10 years.
I know, that's insane.
Yeah, that's a lot of robots.
That's a lot of robots.
That's a lot of robots.
And think about it, it's like the Jetsons.
Yeah.
It's robots everywhere, robots in schools,
right.
Robot entertainers, robot caregivers.
Absolutely.
It's wild, but it's also kind of scary, right?
Right.
Because then what happens to jobs?
Yeah.
And how do we as humans interact with these robots?
I think you bring up a really important point.
Yeah.
We always have to kind of circle back to, which is it's great that this technology is advancing, but we also have to think about the ethical and societal implications.
Right.
We can't just blindly develop this technology without thinking about the consequences.
Right.
So it's a really important conversation to be having.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alongside all the excitement.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we talked about robots.
Yeah.
And that was Nvidia's Jetson Thor.
Yeah.
But then there's also this other thing that I was reading about.
It's from Microsoft, and it's called Phi-4.
Phi-4, yeah.
And it's an AI model, but it's surprisingly small.
That's right.
But it's outperforming larger models in complex tasks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of going against that whole bigger is better thing.
Right.
So it's only 14 billion parameters.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But in the world of AI, that's actually...
Yeah, that's actually considered quite small
Small.
for these large language models.
Okay, so can you break down
Sure.
what is a parameter?
Yeah, so a parameter, you can think of it as a knob that the AI model can adjust to learn from the data.
Okay.
So the more parameters a model has, the more knobs it has to adjust.
Right.
And theoretically, the more it can learn.
Okay.
But what Phi-4 is showing is that you can actually achieve really good performance with a smaller model.
So it's not just about the quantity, it's about
Exactly.
It's about the quality of the training data.
Right.
It's about the architecture of the model itself.
Yeah.
And it's showing that you don't necessarily need these massive models
Wow.
to achieve really impressive results.
So, like, what is 5.4 really good at?
The 5.4 is really good at mathematical and logical reasoning.
Okay.
It's also surprisingly good at common sense reasoning,
Okay.
which has been a challenge for AI models in the past.
Right.
So you can imagine this being really useful in fields like finance, engineering, education.
Okay.
Any field where you need to do complex calculations or logical thinking.
Wow, so that's super cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of changing the game in terms of like, maybe AI doesn't have to be these massive, giant models.
And it's democratizing AI a little bit because these smaller models are more accessible to researchers, to developers who don't have access to the massive computing resources that you need to train the really big models.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about robots. We've talked about this
tiny but mighty
AI model.
That's right.
But then there's also this thing about data.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need data to train these models.
Absolutely.
And so there's this really cool initiative that I was reading about from Harvard.
Okay.
And it's called the 1 Million Books Initiative.
1 million books. Wow.
I know. And basically they're releasing 1 million public domain books for AI training.
That's amazing.
And this is like a collaboration with OpenAI and Microsoft.
Wow. So they're really getting some big names behind this.
I know. And I think it's so cool because it's like, it's really democratizing AI development because now you have this massive amount of data that's just like freely available.
It's a game changer because one of the biggest bottlenecks in AI development has been access to high quality data.
Yeah.
And this just blows the doors wide open.
Yeah, it really does.
For anyone who wants to train an AI model.
Yeah, so like what kind of impact do you think this is going to have?
Well, I mean, think about it this way.
Yeah.
AI models are only as good as the data they're trained on.
Right.
So if you're training an AI model on, a small data set, it's going to have a limited understanding of the world.
Right.
But if you train it on 1 million books, that's a huge amount of information about history, about culture, about science, about everything.
Like all of human knowledge?
Exactly.
Wow.
So the potential for AI to really understand and generate human language is just exponentially increased.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about Nvidia.
Yeah.
We've talked about Microsoft. We've talked about Harvard. What about Apple?
Well, Apple's always kind of doing their own thing, right?
Right.
But they're not sitting this one out.
Okay.
They're actually partnering with Broadcom
to
develop a new AI server chip called Baltra. And this is set to launch by 2026. So they're a little bit behind the curve, but they're definitely trying to catch up.
And so why are they doing this?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons.
Okay.
First of all, they rely pretty heavily on Nvidia right now for their AI technology.
Right.
And I think they want to have more control over their own destiny.
Okay.
So by developing their own chip,
Right.
They can kind of dictate the direction of their AI development, and they don't have to rely on another company for that core technology.
And so is this just for like their phones and their computers, or is this for like...
So this chip is specifically for servers.
Okay.
Which means it's going to be used to power the AI behind things like Siri.
Okay.
You know, their cloud services, things like that.
Right.
So it's not going to be in your iPhone.
Right.
But it's going to be powering the AI that you interact with.
That makes sense.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking of Siri, I don't know if you saw, but they recently integrated ChatGPT into Siri.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a pretty big deal.
That is a big deal.
It's basically making Siri way more intelligent, more conversational, more capable of understanding and responding to your requests.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like all these different companies are kind of like, you know, taking different approaches.
Right.
But it's cool to see how they're all kind of like trying to make AI
more accessible
and like easier to use and integrate it into our lives.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is that AI is no longer this like abstract concept.
Yeah.
It's becoming a part of our everyday lives.
It is.
Whether we realize it or not.
Yeah. And so, you know, that kind of raises the question of like, you know, is this good? Is this bad?
Right.
I mean, it's really cool that all these things are happening.
Yeah.
But then it's like, you know, we were talking about with robots earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, what are the implications of all this?
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that
AI is a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
And it's up to us as a society to decide how we want to use it.
Right.
And I think people like Fei Li, who's a leading AI researcher, have been really vocal about this, saying that, AI should be about augmenting human capabilities.
Right.
Not replacing them.
Right.
We don't want to create a world where AI is taking over all the jobs and humans are left with nothing to do.
Right.
We want to use AI to make our lives better, to make our jobs easier, to solve the world's biggest problems. And I think that's the kind of future that we should all be striving for.
I agree. And that's kind of like the whole mission of this show.
Absolutely.
AI for the people.
Yeah.
It's like we want to make this information accessible to everyone so that we can all be a part of
this conversation.
And help shape this future.
Exactly.
So as we're looking ahead towards 2025 and beyond, what are some of the things that you're most excited about?
Well, I think, we're going to see continued advancements in things like quantum computing.
Okay.
Which is going to have a huge impact on AI.
Okay.
We're going to see AI being integrated into more and more everyday workflows.
Right.
We're already seeing it in things like our email and our calendars.
Yeah.
But I think that's just going to accelerate.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to be a really exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, I think so too.
And to see how AI continues to transform the world.
But I think the key is to make sure that it's transforming the world in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely.
Not just a select few.
Equity and access are crucial.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so for everyone listening, as you're going into the new year, think about, what role do you want AI to play in your life?
Great question.
And how can you be a part of shaping this future? So let us know in the comments.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
We love hearing from you guys. And be sure to subscribe to AI for the People.
For more deep dives.
We will be back soon.
See you next time.
Bye.